All right, guys, your favorite segment and mine every week. We are going to react to the craziest, the most insane, the most hideous, heinous TikToks of the week. I haven't seen them yet. You haven't seen them yet. Let's react to them together.
A lot of people are saying that Tim Walz is Minnesota nice. Tim Walz is not Minnesota nice. Tim Walz is just nice. Minnesota nice isn't really a compliment. Minnesota nice is you say something that sounds nice, but is actually extremely cutting. Think, oh, JD, I heard you wrote a book. Oh, I could never write a book. I'm too busy working hard at raising my family and paying my bills. It's so great you're finding time to play golf while you're running for president. I talked to the other gal who's running for president, and she just said she's spending too much time with the people to play golf. Not good for her. You know, she needs some leisure time too. You're doing it right. When that guy got you in the ear at the rally, I was so worried it was going to impact the rest of the election. Good thing it made no difference at all, though.
So what she means is Minnesota nice is passive aggressive. It's hiding your true intentions behind a passive aggressive comment. In that case, Tim Walz is Minnesota nice, but instead of just hiding passive aggression, he's hiding communism.
One of the greatest tricks the CIA ever pulled was convincing the American people that socialism doesn't work. You've probably heard it. You've probably heard people be like, socialism sounds great on paper, but it never works. This is always super interesting to me when I hear this, because I always follow it up with a follow-up question. I go, what's your metric for something working? What metric are you using for success? Because I personally have run a business on a socialist platform for the past coming up on 11 years. Everyone who works at the company gets equal pay. We don't operate on a for-profit model. We try to break even when there is profit, though. We distribute it up amongst the employees equally. And the business might fail, for sure. Businesses fail. But if it does fail, it will not be because of how payroll was distributed or because we had workplace democracy. It will be because of our need to compete on a free market system, which is a byproduct of capitalism that one business, even on a socialist platform, can't undo on its own.
Okay, so she's actually right. It does depend on your metrics if you're determining whether socialism works. Because if you or I were determining whether socialism works, we'd say, well, does it make people freer? Does it protect their rights? Does it make the country more prosperous? Is it mutually beneficial? And the answer to that would be socialism does not work. But if you are a socialist and you are a tyrannical dictator, you don't believe in private property, you don't believe in individual liberties, then you might think that socialism in the Soviet Union or socialism in Venezuela or even communism in Cuba, you might think that that was wildly successful because your goal is different, which means your metric is different. So in that case, she's kind of right. Also, the only reason her business is working is because she's operating in a free market society. There's never been any rules or even any condemnation that I've ever heard from running your business however you want. You can pay your employees however you want. You can decide what you want to do with your profit. That's actually the great part of living in a free country and not a socialist country, is she made that choice for herself. You think she'd be allowed to make that choice in a socialist country? You think if her business profited in a socialist country, Oh, wait a second. She wouldn't even be allowed to own a business in a socialist country because in socialist countries, the government owns the means of production and distribution, so she wouldn't have any say whatsoever in her own business.
Unbelievable things Kamala Harris has done because the media will never tell you. Part 2. A transgender prisoner desperately needed gender reassignment surgery, but Kamala argued the prisoner didn't need it because Kamala was forced to by her job. But in private, she met with California's prison system and successfully convinced them to pay for trans surgery.
I can't even tell if that guy's being real or a parody. If it's a parody, it's hilarious. If it's real, he's pathetic. But the parody would be funny because Kamala Harris actually did argue for your taxpayer money and mine to be used to fund the hormone therapy, cross-sex hormone therapy, and genital mutilation surgery for convicted criminals in the prison system. Can you even believe? You go to work, you work hard, you get paid in a paycheck, and the taxes that are taken out of your paycheck, which is painful every single week that you get a paycheck, is used to trans somebody. Somebody, not just somebody, but somebody who committed a crime against our country? Yes. Thank you, Kamala Harris, and thank you, I hope, parody guy, for bringing that to light.
You're seriously gonna disown your kid. Why? Because they go by a different set of pronouns and neopronouns than you want them to be? No, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. Whatever theory in? Okay. Transgender? Fine by me. Non-binary? Okay. Gender fluid? Again, it doesn't bother me because I'd rather have my kids be honest with me and communicate with me and be alive than dead. Okay? And if you're going to disown them because they're not who you want them to be and demand them to be, they don't deserve to be your child then. We'll take them. We'll adopt them. They'll have a new home. Where they'll see us as a safe space, someone they can talk to, and not something to fear. Is that okay with you? Here. I did not mean to raise my voice. I do apologize. Here, maybe she can make you feel better. Now, we're gonna come home. We're gonna have a nice long talk about who you are and what we'd like to go by, alright? Welcome home, sweetie.
And the left claims that they aren't grooming our children. That individual is the definition of the word groomer, telling children to run away from their parents and to come to her instead. I mean, it actually makes me sad to see that person because she is so corrupted by demonic ideology that she's mutilated her own body, and yes, she's trying to steal your children. She's also propagating a lie. There's this emotional manipulation tactic that the left uses in these really, really heart-rending situations. If a child has been captured by gender ideology, then the left tells parents, if you don't indulge this delusion, then you are going to be responsible for the death of your child, because if you don't indulge the delusion, your child's going to commit suicide. And that is emotional blackmail. It's emotional. It's beyond emotional manipulation. It's emotional hostage taking. It's also a lie. Children that undergo transitions, social transitions, pharmaceutical transitions, or surgical transitions, their rate of suicide actually increases in the years after their transition. And yet these people, these weirdo groomers on TikTok who are trying to tell your children, come into my house and I will talk to you about your body and your sexuality. Real creeps, they're lying to you in order to try to trick you and take your kids away.
We used to have stop and frisk for criminals in this country, but liberals whine, so now we only have it for soccer moms at the airport.
Okay, that's not only 100% true, it is my personal experience. I cannot think of more than 2 or 3 times in the past 4 or 5 years when I've flown where I haven't been pulled aside for extra security. And keep in mind, I often travel with my 2 young children, so my 3-year-old daughter and my 4-month-old daughter, and I'm carrying 2 children walking through security, and they pull me aside to swab me as if what? I even asked them, I'm like, do you find a lot of bomb-making materials on moms with infants and toddlers traveling through the airport? And for some reason, the TSA agents never think that that is as funny as I think it is. Because TSA is also corrupt.